Welcome to Game Recognized Game. I'm Myles Turner, 11-year NBA vet, center for the Milwaukee Bucks, joined by my co-host, 3-time WNBA champion, Breanna Stewart. Stewie's back from her CBA meetings and ready to give us all the details. I just got done with the game, and we on and popping now. What's up?
Honestly, we haven't recorded together in a while. You've been holding it down, so shout out to you.
Man, you too, man. I know them CBA negotiations are real important. I actually just saw you were on The View, and that's a big deal, man. You know, boys, we grew up watching The View, man. I got sisters, my mother, my grandmother, they all love the show. So you didn't get any sleep? I mean, how was the whole experience?
I'm now finally getting sleep. I think that that whole week of CBA negotiations was absolutely nuts, and we'll dissect into it a little bit more, but it was like 12, 14-hour days. You know, I'm like in an office for 12, 14 hours talking about like things that lawyers talk about. And I'm just like, what is happening? But really happy that we're on the other side of it. Obviously, to be able to celebrate that with my teammates, players of the W, and go on The View, that was cool.
That's unreal, man. You can add a lawyer to the resume for sure, of all the other accomplishments. Because it's just from afar, man. I think it's amazing that you guys got a structure in place, for these women coming up in the league over the next few years. And I'm glad that there is some real structure. But we'll get to that, man. We got a great show today, man. We're gonna talk a little March Madness. Texas and UConn, they're both rolling right now on the women's side, man. I'm happy for them.
My Huskies, they keep going. We're also going to talk more about the CBA, but also Connecticut Sun has just been sold for $300 million. So we have to figure that out, talk about that, and see how you're feeling, Myles, because, another team's coming to Texas.
Yeah, shout out to Texas, man. I'm a Dallas boy by trade, but I rock to Houston, man. So I'm happy for them. That was a dynasty, before they even went to, got rid of the team down to the Comets. So that's gonna be pretty cool. I'm happy for the city. And then, of course, as y'all know, we're gonna go off the court. We're gonna talk about our parenting corner from Stewie's side of things, and give y'all a little insight into my life, things I got going on too. As we alluded to, we're in the middle of March Madness. You won 4 titles in 4 years at UConn, something that I don't think will ever be done again, in my opinion. Do you get Geno flashbacks, this time of the year, when you see UConn play?
Honestly, I think not as many Geno flashbacks as when it was like the preseason or the beginning of the year. That's when he was the toughest. I feel like when we got to March, that's when you get to just like play and be yourself and really, you're building for this moment. So
I personally have seen him from afar. I've respected his ascension. I've respected, the way he's able to get the best, from his teams. But you can speak to it personally, man. Like, how does he keep winning? Like what's up?
Honestly, he's just recruiting the best. He's recruiting the best people to come in there and really make an impact. But like even the other day, I saw a stat. It was 32 straight Sweet 16s. That's nuts. Like 32 in a row is crazy. But it just shows like he's doing something right with the program and obviously all the other coaches there and making it consistent between the players coming in and how they're getting better and how they're, going out. Obviously we had to collab with AZ and she's probably going to be the number 1 pick.
Man. Yeah. But might win it all too at this point.
Yeah, he just keeps pushing through it.
That's so fire, bro. Like I said, there's not a lot of coaches with that same stability across any sport, at that. His dominance has been something that's been cool to study. Okay, so you've played at the highest level at every single championship game that there is to play. So let's kind of compare them. What's the difference between the NCAA tournament, WNBA playoffs, and the Olympics?
It's tough. I think the NCAA tournament it's win or go home. It's one game to advance. I think that's where W playoffs is different because you're in a series. If you drop one, as you know with the NBA, you drop one, it's all right. You're going to get it back the next one and like get the series back on your side. With the NCAA, with the Olympics, you only got one shot. And if you don't get it right, you're going to be out. So that's the biggest pressure thing is like there's no opportunities for a second chance or like an opportunity to fix it.
Right. And that makes sense. I think that the argument is always that like it's really hard to beat a team 4 times in a row or 4 times or 3 times or whatever your series may be. Or is it a pressure of just winning one game? So I think it kind of is it's a very subjective question to me because again, like I've obviously been through it and like, of course, if you lose one game, it's over with. That's one, way of putting it. But it's like, damn, I got to do this 3 more times. Like, I don't know.
I know. I think one game, anything can happen. And like, I'm sure you guys say the same thing as what we say. It's like, well, they're not going to beat us 3 times in a row. If you're in a series, they can't beat us 3 times in a row. And sometimes they do. But still, you just keep telling your mental side, like, all right, it's not going to happen.
Of course. Man, well, speaking of just, losing on just crazy feats and just one and done, man, the tournament's been dope this year. I don't know what the magic is in March every single year. Guys are just, and the women are just hitting buzzer beaters. But we obviously saw Duke last night against LSU, and Ashlyn Jackson's shot, man, that was a well drawn up play. I'll give that X's and O wise. I have an ATO, but that shot is like as poetic as it gets. The ball was on the rim at 0.0 seconds. It's spun around the rim for a little bit and went down in dramatic fashion to send, a powerhouse home, man. What were your thoughts there?
Honestly, super exciting. Obviously, shout out to Kara Lawson. She's our next Olympic head coach. So really rooting for her. But Ashlyn Jackson, like this is where you want to be your best. And for her, like it wasn't an easy look. Like she had to shot fake dribble to get flaw like off her. And she still was able to knock it in. So like you said, March is where, people shine their brightest. And Duke Women's is one of many teams. I feel like all I've been seeing is buzzer beaters, honestly.
Man, I'm telling you.
What did you think about Texas? I feel like they gave Texas men's, they gave a strong push. They had to play in the play-in.
Don't do that.
They had to play in the play-in. No, I'm saying they went far. They won like 3 games in a row, like from the play-in. That's tough.
I know, man. I know. Yeah, it's just fresh emotions. I was really happy for Sean Miller, man, because he recruited me when he was at Arizona. And I think he's someone who is really good at his job. He's someone who's, unfortunately, he got caught up in that FBI probe a few years ago. So he kind of got sanctioned, wasn't able to, really play or play out the way that he wanted to. But he's got another chance at a very big university at Texas. And I'm so happy and proud for those boys, man, because they had a very up and down season. I think they struggled a lot, defensively and shooting the ball from the outside. But they were able to do both of those things when it mattered most. They had that playing the game against, NC State. Got that taken care of and whatnot. Then they were able to come in and, they won in the round of 64. Who'd they beat? I know they beat Gonzaga in the round of 32. Who'd they beat in 64? I forgot who they beat before then, but they won 3 games to get to that point.
They beat a 6 seed.
Yeah. I know Gonzaga was a 3 seed or something like that, and that was the round of 32 to get to Sweet 16. But, yeah. But no, I'm excited for them, man. Like, one of their seniors, Pope, he was playing on a broken foot. You know what I'm saying? Just to go out there and just to do that and show that type of heart was incredible to me.
BYU,
you're right. BYU. And that's when, of course, how can I forget that? They got the potential number 1 pick on their side at Devin. So that was a very impressive win. But no, shout out to their players, man, because, Pope played really well, off that broken foot. I liked his game throughout the year. He's a great shooter. He's really good coming off action. And obviously, them as a team, they were just kind of like a band of brothers, man. They really stuck together through it all and, made a great run. So I'm happy for them to run it back next year. I don't know what the hell's going to happen, all this NIL stuff, who's going to be there, who's not, but,
right.
I'm still rocking with them nonetheless.
What's crazy is like, why are so many people playing with having broken feet? Caleb Foster for Duke, he broke his foot, and then 3 weeks later, he came back and played last night.
Yeah. That's right. You're right. That's a good call. Good shout.
I mean, you don't know what kind of break they had, but like still, you're using your foot every single time you're on the court. Like,
I just think that college is such a different grind, bro. Like, they try to kill you in college. They really try to stick it to you and prove it with all the conditioning, the weight rooms, and you got some people going through Navy SEAL trainings and whatnot. Like, it's a little bit different. So I think the intensity and the load that these college players have nowadays is so much different than what we kind of do here in the NBA, because their games are damn near their practices and whatnot every single day.
What was your worst college workout experience? I feel like off season we had like the 6 a.m.s. We had like some crazy stuff, and I was just like,
I loved our strength coach. His name is Coach Todd Wright, man. A shout out, man. He's one of the real ones in my life, at least. I think he's with the Clippers now or whatever he's doing. But we had our 6 a.m.s, and I was used to working hard. You know what I'm saying? I came in through high school, putting myself to the ringer, getting ready for the next level. But this is a different level of hard work. So we would get up, and we'd be right outside the dorms, and we had to run 2 miles, right? And you had to make, a certain amount of time. I think it was like 14 minutes or something like that. So then after that, you go to class, but then you still have the weight room right after the classes and whatnot. And the weight room was where the boys really became men, I couldn't give you the specific workouts that we did, but then you do the weight room. And then during practice, Coach Rick Barnes had what he would call the circus. The circus was basically like a punishment, like little segment. It was like the Jacob's ladder we had to get down, and the Versa climber. There was a whole bunch of different stuff over there. And his always thing was, if you're gonna act like a clown, and I'm gonna send your ass to the circus. So if he was fucking up around practice and all that type of stuff, he would put us through these crazy like workouts, whatnot on the side. But this would all be during the same day. So I didn't have just one workout. It was just accumulation of work in a day that was like crazy for me personally.
Yeah, we used to have these like off-season 6 a.m.s. We had like our strength person at the time was Kimball, Amanda Kimball, and same thing. Like she really set us up to succeed and like get conditioned better than any other team. But we had these like off-season workouts. It was like with Marines or something like that. And like I just remember like we would be like army carrying like people like over our shoulders, like down and back. And it's just like,
oh my God.
This is just like a test of strength, no, like mental toughness at this point, because you never carry anybody like that on the basketball court. Like,
no, the crazy thing is I put the mentality, you know what I mean? Because of course you're never gonna do it on the court, but it's like having your sister's back, having your brother's back, literally and figuratively. You know what I mean? It's just a different experience college is, man, to say the least. Because you're not asking, these professionals to do anything like that.
The amount of times I did like Olympic lifting in college, and like I have not done it since. I have not done it since being a pro. Like we just do not do that.
That's real, man. For all college athletes listening, man, this isn't your forever, man. Keep going. This ain't your forever.
Okay, Myles, this is something that I've been wondering. Obviously, there's going to be some one and dones. There's some hype around the kid from BYU and the kid from Kansas. They both got knocked out early. So like, what's the comparison to who's going to be number one? Is it going to be Boozer from Duke? Like how is this going to go?
Well, the experience of being a one and done is actually really cool. I got knocked out of the tournament early as well. I got knocked out in the first round against Butler, and they got drafted in Indiana of all places, and had to, just live to see all that. But anyways, it really all depends on the draft lottery coming up, the NBA draft lottery, because different teams had different needs. I think that Utah, they really could use a big wing. If they have someone like AJ Demnasta, that would be a big pickup for them. I can't see, if Utah had the number one pick, I can't see them like picking Cameron Boozer, because he's like a different type of player than Demnasta is. I personally like Cameron Boozer a lot. I watched him play this year. I think that he's got a grown man's game, a grown man's body, and he can come to a situation where he can kind of take over right away. So say like, I don't know, the Washington Wizards end up with like the number one pick, or even like the Indiana Pacers, that they need another wing and whatnot as well, with the departure, in my opinion, of Ben Mathurin. So different teams have different needs. And, the process will be very interesting to see how it shakes out, because what happens is these number one picks, these teams, they only bring in a certain amount of guys during the draft process, right? During your draft workouts. I personally worked out for 11 teams, or 10 to 11 teams. And that's a lot for a lottery pick. I got drafted number 11 to the Indiana Pacers. And typically you only do like 3 or 4 workouts. But what I can see these guys doing, like the kid from Kansas, Peterson and whatnot, like I can see him just doing 2 workouts. And he'll only do it for the top 2 teams, And then the teams will have to make a decision from there. I think it's going to be very insightful, what they do. What people don't realize and talk about enough is the talent is one thing. Nowadays, these guys want to draft quality kids, kids that have quality families, kids that are going to come to the organizations and, take up the quality of, what they're bringing. They want guys that are coming to be philanthropists in the city. They want guys that are going to connect with the fans. They want guys that are going to come in and be leaders in the locker room. So your talent can only take you so far this day and age in the NBA. You have to be a quality human at that as well. And I know that's, where a lot of scouts, tell me is that, what they're looking for. It's never just about the talent anymore. So it'll be very interesting the way it all shakes out. Someone like Cameron Boozer, in my opinion, has an advantage. His father played in the NBA. He knows the process. He knows what it's like to, be a top pick. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Interesting enough, I'm not sure if you still do this, but every now and then I'll mess around. Do you still fill out brackets, for March Madness?
Oh, yeah. I filled out 2 brackets, men's and women's.
Okay.
So it's like not perfect. I actually did this thing with Reese's, so shout out to Reese's. And they were like, there's never been a perfect bracket. There's never been a perfect bracket. So I was like, I'm going to be perfect. For the men's side, the first game like messed me up. I had TCU beat Ohio State or something, or vice versa. Whatever. Whoever won that game, I had the other one. But both my brackets are doing good because I got UConn winning in both. So we're in the Elite Eight. We're gonna do some work.
Oh yeah.
Did you do one?
Of course, I always fill out a bracket. I always just do one just to do it. I never really do it much, but I saw Kalshi this year. They came out and was like, "We'll give $1 billion, like with a B, to anybody that can fill out a perfect bracket." And I had that same mindset. I was like, well, if anybody knows ball, it's me. I'm going to do it. And then, by the first 2 days, just shit's busted up. So, yeah, North Carolina, man, they fucked me over a little bit, but it's okay. Should we live on? But, yeah, man, you got to. Just in the spirit of, the competition. I always do an upset bracket, too. And an upset bracket, I think I had, I don't even remember at this point. Yeah, well, I had Texas going to the Final Four, and, they got close. Well, just kind of speaking of March, and we'll wrap it up with this one. Who are some breakout players, on the women's side, that you've seen, or a breakout player that's just kind of, that you like watching so far?
Some breakout players. I mean, obviously from UConn, Sarah Strong is doing what she does. She's National Player of the Year for a reason. I think that other players that really, Hannah Hidalgo, especially after the last game. She almost had a quadruple double, like you said earlier in the show, so you can't not pick her. I feel like in my mind, I'm only on this side of the bracket. So I'm trying to think about what's over here. We got UCLA, Lauren Betts. She's doing
Yeah, I like
work.
watching her play.
And, Texas, Madison Booker. I'm a fan.
Oh, yeah, we know that.
And who you got for the men's?
Well, the obvious one on the men's side so far has been the little guard from Arkansas, Darius Acuff. He's been explosive. He's been really fun to watch. And there's something about John Calipari guards, man. He just finds a way just to find, raw and hidden talent. And, I think he did a great job, this year. This year at all, he was SEC Player of the Year, SEC Freshman of the Year. He took home a lot of honors. And I'm curious to see what's going to shake over him in the draft process because, you always hear about small guards and how that stuff shakes out. But I think that he has NBA level scoring talent. So we'll see how that goes there. And then, honestly, I got to give a big shout out to the kid from Texas, man, Tremont Mark. He started at the University of Houston. I was familiar with his game, but he really stepped up this year, man. He hit some big shots. Lefty, he's playing really well. He was an isolation scorer as well, for Texas. I think he hit the big shot against NC State, that sent them there. And then he was very consistent overall. I think he had 29 points or 25 points, whatever it was, against Purdue, who they just played. So I wish the best for him in his future. I think he's a senior. I'm not sure what's up for him, but it was really fun watching him play as well. All right, y'all. Well, it's time for a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into the new WNBA CBA and Stewie rolls in the changing landscape of women's sports. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Game Recognized Game with Stewie and Myles, wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome back to Game Recognized Game. And man, I've been waiting to talk about this. We haven't linked up in about a month now. You've been so busy. And congratulations, by the way, on the WNBA CBA. Again, you played a very integral role in getting that done, you and the rest of the WNBA Players Association and their councils. For the fans who don't fully understand it, why does a new CBA matter so much, for the future of the WNBA and just women's sports in general? Yeah,
so a new CBA matters so much because now we're a part of a rev share. And as you know, in the NBA, that's a big deal. And for us, where we net it out, exactly. Where we net it out is we have the SBR, which is the shared basketball revenue, and we're now getting 20% of all revenue that comes in, and that's going to stay throughout the entire term of the CBA. And as the revenue goes up, the players get more money and vice versa. So I think what's really cool now is we're in a partnership. We're literally, as the league grows, the players grow, and vice versa. And it's real money. It's not like a hard cap. It's not something that's just, lower salary. The Supermax is not $250 like it was in the previous one. That's lower than the min at this point. Mins are higher than that. And I'm really excited about what's to come.
Nice. I'm glad to hear it, man. It makes you think of players like, Paige Beckers or Caitlin Clark, the younger players coming to the league. They're really going to see the full benefit, of something like that, just because they're franchise changing players. So that's amazing that you were able to get it done for them, for real.
One thing I can say about them is, their salaries are going to get bumped up. So they're going to make way more than they were in the previous CBA, but also those players specifically will fall under this epic rule, basically like the Derrick Rose rule, that if you get
Okay.
MVP or all first WNBA, all first team, and whatever, you can get bumped up to that supermax right away after your third rookie season. You know what I mean? So you sign an extension, and that extension is already bumping you up to the supermax. So that's really exciting for them.
That's big time. That's big time, man. Do you think that like this will keep players like here more domestically, or do you think more and more girls or women are going to go overseas and continue to keep pursuing, you know, their basketball careers over there as well?
I mean, I think more players are going to be here. I think that the money is going to be exactly what you want. Like I was saying, the vet min is like a little bit under 300,000. You know, so that's the lowest that anybody can make here. Also, there's 2 new teams coming into place. So there's 24 more spots. Now, aside from that, because Toronto and Portland have the expansion draft like coming up this week, aside from that, each team gets 2 spots for player development players. So like how you guys have two-way, we get like spots where we can actually develop them and make them adjust, because the hardest part is when players get drafted and then there's training camp, there's not enough time for them to develop to the W game. And we can kind of, you know, hold on to them a little bit longer and help them.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's a huge shout out right there. That's big time, because now you're right. People don't realize that at all. There's such a big difference between amateur level basketball jumping to the professional level, and you have to have an adjustment period, man. In the NBA they call it the rookie wall that everybody goes through, and I guess the women's side, you can't afford to go through the rookie wall. Like you literally just have to like push on. So that's huge that you guys get those 2 spots. One thing that I, you know, personally, I guess resonate with and I'm proud of is the fact that there's back pay, you know, for retired players as well. You know, I think that's something in our NBA CBA that was very important, you know, for the older generation of players. And, you hear so many countless stories of athletes going broke when they're done being professional athletes. And, you know, even if it's just a little right now, you know, setting up for the future, like explain how important that was in your negotiations.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to make sure that we had a way to really show former players how much they meant to this league, because the W is only 30 years young. And while they didn't get all the money that they should have when they were playing, we want to make sure they get something now. So there's a one-time payment to former players, like based on your years of service. So anybody 12 plus years of service, you get a one-time payment of $100,000. And then from there, it's like 8 to 11 is $50K, and then 5 to 7 is $30K. And it's not going to be huge, but it's going to be something, and in a way where we can make good to our former players that kind of paved the foundation to where we are. Another thing that's really cool is that we have an insurance like stipend or refund to former players, where they can get a certain amount paid back to them for hospital visits or whatever they need to make sure that they continue to stay healthy.
That's awesome, man. And again, that's little stuff in the CBA that I just don't think that people, you know, would think about. And again, it just made me proud just to, you know, see that part of it. So that's big time. But, you know, that's what made me proud. What made you most proud, like, you know, during this entire process? You know, I just think that looking back, y'all really stuck together. All the women were really united in this. Y'all all had like the same general message. So what was your most proud moment, you know, during this process?
Yeah, I think my most proud moment was just the fact that, like you said, you know, we stayed together while there was some bumps and hurdles along the way, really understanding what we were fighting for, and knowing that we were fighting for an opportunity to have larger salaries, have larger cap space, have larger paychecks, meaning that the super max will be 1.4 this year. The regular max will be 1.1.
Nice.
But the longevity of that, you know, making sure it's not just this year, making sure that is growing incrementally year after year, to the point where this CBA is actually the start. And then from there, we will continue to grow to where we need to be. But we really had to just kind of fix everything to get to this point. And that's why it took so long. That's why we were in there forever, because we were talking about everything, like literally everything, and trying to make sure nothing went unnoticed or unchecked, like checking all the boxes.
Man, that's so real, man. And again, you said this is a good starting point. So it's just a good launch pad, to what the future of the league is going to look like. And the landscape of that is like, even when, we're way done with this. So again, you've left the league in a really good place. And, I know there's a lot of people out there saluting you. So it's great, man. I'm glad to just even just be, even get like the first insights on the pod, man. It was kind of cool, just me even kind of getting a behind the scenes peek at it. So, I just, who knows what will happen in 2029 with our CBA, but, at least I got some good hit points. So that's fine.
I know. 2029, we're going to have to come back on the pod and see what's happening if your CBA, when that comes.
That's a fact, man. I'm going to try and get on this executive committee, the Player Association, and kind of, see what's up. I got some great motivation now, so that's good. But yeah, man, more big news on the W side. I'm a very proud and born and raised Texan, and I kind of came up, watching, that dynasty, that happened down in Houston with the Comets. They won the 3 championships like back to back to back, and just they built out something amazing. And then obviously they got disbanded, but Connecticut Sun have officially been sold for $300 million, and they're going to move back to Houston. And man, I'm honestly, again, I'm just excited to see what unfolds there. There's more opportunity for these ladies. But does that prove your point, like, on the money side of the game?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, it's a little bit of a bittersweet thing. Obviously, having gone to UConn, knowing that Connecticut Sun this is going to be their last season in Connecticut, the fans really appreciate teams going there and people being there. But to go to Houston, hopefully they're going to get the same jerseys. Like, are they going to go back to Houston Comets? That would be fire. And really just kind of have that launching pad and know that, these owners are really going to take care of this team and bring it to the level that it needs to be. I think that's another thing from the CBA is we put in minimum standards in writing. Like, things cannot be worse than this. Like, this is the lowest, this is the bar, this is where everything needs to be, and it can only get better from here. So, as you know, change and expansion happen. Sad that it's leaving the Northeast, but excited to see what's going to happen in Texas. All right, Myles. Bucks officially missed the playoffs today. How are you feeling? How has the season been for you? Like, break it down.
Man, well, where do we start? It's been a very long season. I think that, with 10 games left, I've had time to reflect. I came into the offseason, with high hopes. Came off the NBA Finals last year, and the way this team was orchestrated, we had a real good chance, to make some noise this year. But unfortunately, we got caught by the injury bug very early. I personally have only played like 18 to 20 games with Giannis, just me and him both. Obviously he was one of the big reasons that I came to Milwaukee, just for that partnership. But he's been dealing with lingering calf issues pretty much all year, and they basically had to kind of shut down, what he had going, just because he's just not as healthy as he can be. Kevin Porter Jr. was like one of our better playmakers in our guards. He went down the very first game of the season. We've had Kyle Kuzma went down for like 12 games, and it's been tough, man. We haven't had our full roster the entire year. But one thing about me, man, I've never been about excuses, ever. We're all NBA players, and we roll the ball out there. You got to go out there and play. Me personally, I'm a guy that plays in. I thrive, within systems. You know what I mean? I'm not the guy you're going to throw the ball to at the top of the key and say, Myles, go get 30. That's never really been my game. But I'm a great system player, and I'm really good with my basketball IQ, what I do. And, unfortunately this year I just haven't had the right playmaking kind of around me to unlock, that best part of my game, or make me becoming the best version of myself. So I honestly really take this year and with a grain of salt, because it was humbling at that. I just believe in I believe in a higher calling. I believe that God, has me on a path. And, you have to be able to really experience the lowest of the lows to appreciate, the highest of the highs, that are in my future. So this is the first off season. This is the first off season I'm going to have to myself, in the past 3 off seasons, to really work on my body and work on, my game. Obviously going to the finals last year, Eastern Conference Finals year before that, your off season is so short, you only get like a month. But now I get a real good 3 to 4 months just to focus on me. And I'm excited just for that opportunity, because, I just turned 30 years old. I'm in the prime of my career. I've signed here for 3 more years. Yeah, 30 club, baby, 30-30. I'm signed here for 3 more years, and I know my best basketball, is yet to come. So organization, we're all going to try to figure out what direction that we're going to go into. There's obviously a lot of questions circling Giannis, our coaching staff, and and et cetera. But, I'm very hopeful, for the future. I know that everything happens for a reason, and I'm not dejected whatsoever. I'm disappointed, for the fans because I know they were expecting, a much different product this year. We obviously get paid a lot of money to go out there and execute our jobs at a high level, but there's a lot of shit that happens in an NBA season, and again, I've been a soldier through it all. I've only missed a handful of games myself. I'm playing about 70 games this year out of the 82, and I pride myself on availability. So I'm gonna go out there every night and just do my job.
Well, I mean, we appreciate you, and I think that, like you said, the best is yet to come. You're still in your prime. We're gonna keep it pushing, and I like the no excuses. I think that sometimes throughout the season, like things are always happening, and you just have to keep going. You have to keep showing up because that's how you create consistently great habits, and that's what you're doing.
Really like what you said right there. It's about keep showing up. It's very easy to kind of throw the towel in. It's kind of very easy to kind of roll over, but that's never really been the way I've been built. Ever. Like I hate the guys that come out and say, well, coach did this wrong, or well, this system doesn't work for me, this and that. Like you can't make up the excuses. The fans don't pay to, come and watch us play to see excuses. They come to see results. And, unfortunately the results just weren't, as good as it would have been, what I would have liked it to have been this year. But it's not discouraged me for the future.
No, love that. Can't wait to see it. You got a lot of time this offseason to work on your game and your body. And also we're going to be working on podcasts, okay? That's what we're doing. We're locking in on
That's
podcasts.
A fact. I'm in the building, man. I just need 2 weeks of vacation, and that's it. Then I'm back at it.
We can handle that. We can handle that for you. All right. So question for you. Who's going to be NBA MVP? Like, if you had to decide today, who is it? Because I know, like, with the missed games and stuff, it's getting tight for everybody. Like, who do you think?
Man, well, first, I really thought the MVP this year was gonna be Cade Cunningham. I think it's amazing, what he's been able to do in Detroit. He's gone through the dark days. He's gone through the hard days in Detroit, of losing. Just 2 years ago, they were the laughingstock of the league, and he's been able to really turn it around. He's another Dallas kid, Arlington to be exact, and I root for him from afar. But unfortunately, he's dealing with that the lung issue, so he's probably going to miss the threshold for those games. At this point, man, I have two guys. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is always going to be in the conversation just because of how consistent he's been and what he's been able to do with OKC. But Wemby is my sleeper, bro. And the reason why I say Wemby is the Spurs, again, were in a very tough position the past couple of years. They've been in the lottery. They haven't really been, competing and whatnot, but they're one of the best teams in the league this year. I just played against the Spurs tonight. I can say from firsthand experience, like their system is, man, like offensively, they execute at such a high level. They got very good pieces on that side. But Wemby is like spearheading all of that. You know what I mean? He's very tough to guard one-on-one, and we haven't seen anything like him in our league ever before. And this could be the year that he gets his first MVP. So don't be surprised if that happens.
You heard it here first. Next topic that I have to ask questions about: the expansion, Seattle, Vegas. You think that's coming?
Mm-hmm.
What we think? It's inevitable. We've been waiting for the Sonics since I was in Seattle for the Sonics to come back, and they never came back. So now, of course, I'm in New York, and the Sonics will come back.
Well, it's crazy. I've actually never been to Seattle, and I love everything that Seattle's about. I'm a very outdoorsy kind of guy. I got the little hippie vibe to me. I enjoy the mountains, and I've never actually been. So, I'm hoping that there's an expansion team that goes on out there. Obviously, Vegas is great for the business of the league because there's so much that goes on in Vegas, year round. And you put an NBA team out there. You've seen the success that the Raiders have had with their tickets and whatnot. You've seen the success that the Oakland's having now, or I guess the Athletics, but you know what I mean? They're in Vegas as well. So all the other teams around us, the Aces, the Golden Knights, every league around us has done it but us, So I think the framework is there. I think that you have to inevitably move some teams to the East, like whether it's Minnesota or Memphis or whatever they do there. But it's 24, or I don't know, it's 30. It's like 30 more roster spots. You know what I mean? And I'm actually very curious to see what we do with our expansion draft because there's going to be a lot of big names that will randomly get moved. I think the rule is we can protect 8 people per roster. So I'm curious to see how that's going to shake out because that's going to be ego play, man. That's going to be an ego play, bro. Imagine being a 3 or 4 time All-Star and your team doesn't protect you. And now you get, expansion drafted away. What's that going to do to you?
Literally, that's what we're doing. That
who knows,
April
man?
3rd, that happens for us. The expansion draft happens between Toronto and Portland, and you can only protect 5.
It's only a third. That's a third. Wow, that's crazy, man. I can't imagine what that's going to be like. Again, it's cool for the opportunity, but damn, man, like, it's like I've done so much in this league, and you're just gonna ship me off. Like, I don't know.
I mean, for us, it'll be a little bit more interesting because we have like over 100 unrestricted free agents. So basically, like, unless Portland or Toronto grab an unrestricted free agent and core them, which is like franchise tag them, like, you could go there, but then you could still leave, like, if you didn't want to be there because you're unrestricted. So I don't know. It'll be a whole mess of a nightmares.
All right, y'all. Well, we got one more break. Next up, we're going to go off the court and talk about life, family. Thank you so much for listening to Game Recognized Game. And remember, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome back to Game Recognized Game with Stewie and Myles. And y'all know what time it is, man. This is we're going to kick it off with our parenting corner and new to Stewie. So, speaking of it, Stewie, let's talk about just, your family and whatnot. You got free agency coming up, and you're a big-time free agent. So tell me a little bit about the parenting advice for free agency. Like, when something like this comes up, are you gonna have to move, or are you gonna stay where you're at? Like, how do those conversations go?
Yeah, I'm gonna just set the record straight here. I will be staying in New York. I'm not planning on taking any free agency meetings. Even though I am unrestricted free agent, my family is set up here. We're solid here. Exactly. Bring that Statue of Liberty right out here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be back in New York, and that's all there is to it. So, good luck to everybody else in free agency, but I'm not a part of that.
Y'all heard it here first, man. One of the best in the league. She stated her mark. Shout out to New York, man. Shout out to New York. That's fire. You got your free agent.
Switching gears a little bit, you just showed us our Statue of Liberty Lego. What's your latest Lego? Like, people need to know, what's the latest drop?
Yeah, no, I've been working all year long, man. I'm going to do a recap video here pretty soon, but I'll give y'all a little sneak peek. This is my latest build I've done. Y'all know I'm a huge Star Wars fan. This is the Bricker Builds Darth Vader right here. Put these together brick by brick, literally piece by piece. And this isn't like your normal like Lego build, because typically, you get the Lego pack, you get an instruction manual, you put it together. These are literally like, I'll show you, break it off, individual pieces that I had to put together one by one by one. I forget how many pieces this one is. I think it's like 4,000 or something like that. Someone can fact check me on that. But this took me it probably took me about like 2 weeks or so. But, it was in the midst of a NBA season. So, yeah, I'm a big Darth Vader guy, big Star Wars guy. So this one's fun to put together, man. Y'all check out Bricker Builds. It's different than actual Lego lore. So, yeah.
That seems intense. Also, for those that have kids, don't do Lego around your kids or you will lose pieces.
Or your cat. Because my cat just decided to jump up on the desk the other day, and I had this little globe that I put together. It was a special globe to me because on the globe, there's little hearts from everywhere me and my girl have ever traveled, across the world. But he decided to say, "F that globe," jumped up on the part, and it all fell to the ground and smashing a bunch of pieces. So I now had to rebuild that somehow, some way.
Dang. That's tough.
Yeah, man. It is what it is, man. You learn life the hard way sometimes. All right, you guys. Thanks for checking us out. You can be a part of the show. Send your questions to our social channels. Leave comments on the YouTube videos. And please subscribe to Game Recognized Game. We'll see y'all next time.